Touching heaven in your heart and carrying it into the world. Dear sisters and brothers, many people today search externally. They seek meaning in achievement, security in possessions, fulfillment in consumption. And yet, there often remains an inner emptiness. Why? Because the path does not begin externally. The path begins in the heart. The heart is the place where the soul, truth, and conscience reside. Where we become still, spiritual growth begins. There, the reconnection to the inner source begins. Jesus says in the Gospel of the Holy 12, "The kingdom of God is not far away, it is within you, not beyond the world, but in the midst of humanity." Many ask, how do I find this path? How do I hear my heart again? One key is spiritual nourishment. Good literature, texts that do not distract but deepen, nourish not only the mind but also the soul. I can particularly recommend the books of the great Russian writer Fyodor Dostoevsky, who touches the soul like no other. They lead us back to compassion, dignity, and humanity. They remind us of who we really are. But spirituality does not end with reading, meditating, or praying. It wants to be lived. Proactively bringing good into the world. Consciously, lovingly, serving is a way to connect ever more deeply with the heart. Not out of duty, but out of inner motivation. For the forces of good do not work abstractly. They work through us. We are, as it is aptly said, their employees. True prayer not only opens the heavens, it makes people capable of action. Prayer is not an escape from the world, but a force that transforms reality. A friend prayed very fervently for one of his charges. Suddenly, the boy came up to him and said, "Stop that." He had sensed that someone was praying for him. What does that mean? That there is an invisible field through which we are all connected. That prayer has an effect. Thoughts, feelings, and actions create reality. What we nurture internally becomes effective externally. That is why praying and meditating together are real forces in the collective field. They purify fear, hatred, and separation, and open spaces for healing. Jesus says, in essence, what you do in the secret of your heart affects the whole. Suffering, war, and chaos are not God's punishment. They arise where people separate themselves from the whole. Internally, mentally, in their hearts. Healing begins when we look, when we write from the soul. What burdens us, what hurts, what is unclear, and allow what rises from the depths. Not to judge, but to recognize. Forgiveness is not forgetting. It is liberation. It opens the heart and restores the connection to the source. Another teacher is nature. The forest, the water, the mountains speak without words. Those who consciously spend time in nature feel grounded, rhythmic, and silent again. Finally, gratitude is one of the strongest spiritual forces. Those who become grateful become receptive. Gratitude opens the heart and broadens life. And mindfulness, simply being in the present moment, allows us to perceive what the heart has long wanted to tell us. Jesus teaches, in essence, be awake. The light is here. Heaven is not a distant place. It becomes present, where people consciously take responsibility, where they love, forgive, and act. Bringing heaven to earth does not mean waiting for miracles. It means living the divine in everyday life, in thoughts, feelings, and actions. May our hearts hear again. May our souls speak again, and may our lives themselves become a visible prayer.